Bill, congratulations on the trade. When it comes to the player that JJ Peterka could be for this Utah club, what are you anticipating in his first season?
Well, I think he's got to come in and get acclimated to Utah and learn the systems. But if you look at his points last year, he's roughly around what Cooley was last year. So he's got an opportunity to come in and have an impact on our top two lines, and I think it's something that he can grow into. I think it's something that he'll take baby steps in getting here and learning to play our system and getting used to Utah and everything about it and his new teammates. But he's a kid. He wants to win. He's a competitor.
Bill Fraser with the Salt Lake Tribune.
Recording in progress.
Sorry. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
The trade was kind of a surprise to some people. Just how long have you been eyeing in on JJ Peterka, and what was the thought process behind getting this across the finish line?
Well, I think you roughly heard a little noise around the combine time and about 3 weeks ago, and obviously as a GM you stay in tune to what's going on in the league and you make some calls. And I didn't think anything was going to happen, but sure enough, it did. It was one of those things where I think it's a win-win for both clubs. Buffalo got two real good players, and we got JJ who's going to add into our scoring touch on our top two lines. So I think it's a win for both clubs. But it took some time to mature and get across the finish line, but we were able to do it.
Cole Bagley with KSL Sports.
Bill, congrats on the trade and extension. Just curious, this club seems to have a lot of momentum right now with the additions of Bolton Simishev, the 4th overall pick. How does Peterka add to what you guys are building and trying to make the playoffs moving forward?
Well, I think it's one of those things where, every little piece of momentum helps. I think, we were able to, get in and get the 4 pick, and then all of a sudden, we were able to swing this deal and we were able to sign our 2 top prospects, Boot and Simishev, coming through the door. So it's been exciting times. And I think for us, it's like you try to feed a little bit off the momentum too. I mean, our buildings are getting, obviously finished with our practice facility in downtown, and that gives you momentum too. So it's really been a positive vibe that's come around our team lately, and it's been exciting. And now we got to go out and hammer it at the draft. But it's certainly, there is a lot of momentum with our club.
Jeff Rainier with Fox.
Yeah, a couple, I guess. But did Buffalo approach you about this move, and how will this, if any, affect your draft tomorrow?
Well, it's one of those things. You stay in contact with the GMs, and you see it up on the Twitter accounts of people and saying, hey, this guy might be moved. And it's one of those questions you ask the GMs. It's when you're talking to them, hey, is this true? Is there any life to this story? And most times there's none, but this particular one had some legs.
Dana Green with ABC.
As much firepower as Peterka brings in, how tough was it to get to move on from Kesselring and Doan, 2 young guys that you guys kind of brought up through the system?
Yeah, that's the hurt part. As a GM, you've got to make that. Sometimes you have to trade players that you truly love, and we had that last year with Moser and Geeky to get Sergachev through the door, and that's something that. Those are the toughest calls you have to make at the end of the day, of 2 kids that were kind of in the fight with us, that were kind of homegrown, and you have to move them along and try and better your team and give your team a chance to get to that next level. And we needed some scoring, and we felt like that could be answered with JJ, who's not only a goal scorer, but he's somebody that was in the same age range as most of the players in our team, and that was an important aspect for us.
Rogan Houston with the Deseret News.
Hey, Bill. You got this one done without having to give up the 4th overall pick. Is that still in play, and does this trade change your outlook with that pick?
It doesn't change anything. I think for us, we're going to swing at the draft, and we're going to look at every option we have, whether that's moving the pick, keeping the pick, trading up, trading down, trading around. We're going to look at every option that's going to help us improve our club, and we've always been that way, and we'll continue to be that way. So, these are busy times for us because we want to be in, and we want a chance to swing here. So it's an important pick for us because of where we are. They keep the money makers in the top 5, and here we go. So
go back to Bell.
Hey Bill, you mentioned moving on from Kessler and Doan. What about your team and the assets you still have now made you feel comfortable that they wouldn't leave too much of a gap and that this trade was the right deal?
Yeah, if you want something really great, you gotta give up something at the end of the day. And we do have a lot of good picks coming through the door that have from previous drafts. So that's a good thing. Like Simashev and Boot are walking through the door, but you always have to weigh where you are in the build and where you're going. And I think where we're going is we needed somebody in the top two lines that could put the puck in the net. And they could have that ability to kind of have impact. So we had to give up two really good players to do that. But I think on our side of it, we're excited about the age of the player, the term of the contract, the AAV, and the impact that he can have.
Cole Bagley.
I was just curious if you could expound upon the extension that he signed. How did those conversations go, and what was it about Utah that enticed him to lock in for 5 years?
Well, I think with we're a new franchise here in Utah, so it's one of those things where they've come in and played us, probably 1 to 2 times at most. Got a good vibe for the city, seeing how good our club was, and the young players that were on it, and said, hey, listen, this is a team that's on the up, the rise, and so I think players are excited about joining, and taking that chance on signing a 5-year deal with us because of the fact that the new facilities coming in, the young players that are surrounded by, and also the practice facility too. Also, I think it's a huge upgrade that we're going to have an advantage to attract players.
Chase Beardsley with the Hockey Writers.
Hey, Bill. I was just wondering how you see JJ Peterka, really fitting into this lineup and what he really adds to this team.
Yeah, I think he's a competitor. The one thing that I've learned about him and from watching him over the years is that he's got a unique ability to create a ton of speed down the wings, and he can beat goaltenders from distance, and that's one of the things that you like about what he can do. There's a lot of other aspects we like about his game. He's 23, he's young, he's fast, he's hungry to make a difference. So, but he's going to have an opportunity to come in and prove himself here and have good impact on our club, along with a lot of other players. But I think it helps us solidify our top 6.
Tom Callahan with Locked On.
Thanks, Bill. Real quick, so getting this done ahead of free agency, where does that now put the Mammoth focus heading into free agency? I know you've got the draft tomorrow, but where do you put your focus for free agency coming up now?
Well, you put it on some of your needs, so we've got to get through the draft first, and then we'll revisit some of the needs that we have, when free agency pops up. We'll see what damage we can do in the draft, if there's any other opportunities to grab players, or move up in the draft or move down. We'll figure it out. But once that ends, then you really get into the free agency, and everybody's got us signing, guys for $15 million and all that crazy stuff. And we not to say that we're not going to sign free agents. We want to be in the mix. And if that helps us take the next step, we're all for it. But a lot of times you see teams, in the front of Hockey News, they win the summer, they don't win the winter. We don't want to be that team. We want to be built properly for the long run. And a lot of times, with free agency, you got to have your core established. You got to have all your team in there, and then you add the last piece, through free agency.
Final 2 questions, Bell.
Hey Bill, have you talked to JJ since the trade went through, and if so, what were kind of his initial reactions to you about being part of the Mammoth?
Yeah, I don't think he was being surprised to be traded. I think he knew at some point it was coming, so I think he was excited to know that he was going to our team. I think he had done some studying and on our club, and he was excited about coming here. Sometimes you talk to guys when they're traded to you and they're in shock. This particular player was expecting it and excited about coming to Utah.
Last question, Dana Green.
Hey, Bill, do you know if JJ had any previous contact with other players on the Mammoth? Does he have relationships? Is he friends with anybody? And then for Jeffrey, are we going J. Dot or just JJ? Because I've seen it both ways.
But Dan, just to answer your question, I think he knew people that knew our coach. I'm not sure that he knew exactly anybody on the team, but he had done his homework somewhere, so he knew somebody, and really excited about coming to Utah.